Hi, Ambassador. Welcome back to the program. Thank you very much for making the time.
Glad to be with you.
I have a number of questions on the latest between Canada and the U.S., but I have to start off, of course, on this breaking news today about the person who serves in a role you used to serve in, the National Security Advisor, now becoming basically the first person at that echelon to exit their role. I know he's headed to become another role that you occupied, the Ambassador to the United Nations, but what does that exit say to you?
Well, I think it exemplifies the continuing chaos in Donald Trump's national security decision-making. This is obviously very unusual. In Trump's first term, his very first national security advisor, Mike Flynn, lasted for 22 days. Mike Waltz has lasted for 102 days, so that's some improvement. But, it's the kind of job that stability in office and being able to keep the wheels of decision-making moving smoothly. Constant turnover and confusion in responsibilities leads to inadequate decision-making, and there are a lot of pressing issues in the world today. This is not part of the original plan, let's be clear.
You understand what it's like to serve in that role. In layman's terms, what is it supposed to function like, and what does it function like under Trump?
Well, the National Security Advisor should be responsible for ensuring that the president has before him, when he confronts important foreign and defense policy decisions, he has all the pertinent information, that he has the chance to absorb, that he knows what the options are, that he knows the pros and cons of the options, so that he can make the most informed decision possible. And then when the decision is made through the NSC process to ensure that the bureaucracy carries out the president's decision. That's not the way it works in the Trump administration, as I found in the opening weeks, really, of my time there. He is not disciplined by information, options, consideration of the implications of decisions or their pros and cons. He operates on whim. He is totally transactional, episodic, ad hoc. And it's very hard to keep the machinery of government running. It's not an easy job for anybody in any of the top national security positions in a Trump administration. And what we've just seen happen over the past 3 months, and what we're seeing happening today in particular, I think demonstrates very clearly.
Why do you think Mike Waltz was the first one to get removed? Like, why do you think ultimately he is the one to in a way, take the fall?
Well, it's not a question of fairness or anything like that. I think most people felt that after the Signal chat group issue broke and people learned what had happened, that Washington observers would have said Waltz's time in office was short. But Trump obviously didn't want to have a repetition of the Mike Flynn problem and be a story in the first 100 days. Trump wanted the first 100 days to be a record of success. Well, it wasn't a record of success on many grounds, and so now on day 102, safely past the first 100, this is broken out in the open. But I think most people thought Waltz would hang on for another couple months, and then they'd announce he wanted to spend more time with his family or something like that. The switch to the UN, I believe, was totally unpredicted by anybody, and I believe it could have been another ad hoc decision Trump reached maybe even this morning, once the story of Waltz's departure had leaked out.
You mentioned 102 days in where sort of things sit with the president at this point. If you look at public opinion polling, for example, if you look at the slowdown in the economy, the impact of both the imposition of tariffs, but also the threat of even more severe ones, I am wondering if you think that provides any kind of opening for Canada as we get set to embark on, I don't know what I can call them, negotiations, conversations, something, a new relationship with a new prime minister.
Well, I think the most important thing in dealing with Trump is appreciating that he sees international relations as a function of his personal relationship with a foreign head of state. So if he has good personal relations with a foreign leader, then in his view, the U.S. has good state-to-state relations with that country. That's not my view. I think is vastly oversimplified, but it is the fact that Trump didn't like Justin Trudeau, and that's why he enjoyed trolling him, calling him Governor Trudeau, and talking about Canada as the 51st state. I don't know that he met Mark Carney before Carney became prime minister. They did have one phone call at least after that. It apparently went fairly well, respectfully. Very hard to predict what Trump's relationship with anybody will be, but it's certainly possible given Carney's background. They could have a professional relationship, and a lot will simply turn on that. How well did the two of them get along? It will turn on that in Trump's mind in any event.
There's sort of a live conversation here about what the next number of months looks like, insofar as will there be a negotiation of sorts. That's the way that the prime minister has termed it. The other party that was competing to win government was saying, you know, we should start renegotiating NAFTA right away. NAFTA was in place, the new NAFTA, CUSMA or USMCA was in place and contravened by the actions of President Trump. What is your best advice to Canada about that? Like, should we pursue a different agreement that he can just break again?
Well, I think the most important thing is to recognize that although it may seem like a long time, Trump only has 45 months left. The world will last longer than the end of the Trump administration. And if I could give Prime Minister Carney a little free advice, I think he took a wrong turn in his victory speech the night of your election when he said that the relationship with the United States would never be the same again. And spoke very negatively about the United States and the views that it held, when what he really meant to say was the views that Donald Trump holds. The vast majority of the American people, the vast, overwhelming majority, never had the slightest interest in making Canada the 51st state. And many of them, I would say a clear majority, don't agree with what he's done on the tariff policy. Specifically with respect to Canada and Mexico, our partners in North America. So I would say to the Prime Minister, you can have whatever view you want of Donald Trump. I certainly have my view, and I'm sure he will have his. But do not say that Trump is equivalent to the United States. Do not equate the people of the United States and their views with Donald Trump. I think if you fix that, you'll be off to a really good start.
Okay, I'll leave it on that note. Ambassador Bolton, thank you very much for your time. I appreciate it.
Well, thanks for having me.